Hello everyone, this is your friend Naruto Fix, and we are back with another epic What If Naruto fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto became a Kenjutsu expert under Killer Bee? Part 1. If you love Naruto fanfics, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the journey with me. So, let's start the fanfic. Naruto Uzumaki stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the churning ocean below. The wind whipped his blonde hair around, but his eyes were still, focused, not the same naive, hyperactive boy who once aimed to pull pranks on Konoha. No, this Naruto was on a mission now. A mission that led him far from the Leaf Village, across nations, toward a future no one could have predicted. After the incident of the Fourth Great Ninja War had been narrowly averted in this alternate timeline, cracks began to form in the peace. Tensions flared between the shinobi nations. The Jinchuriki were still targets. Naruto knew this more than anyone else. And it was because of that realization, the reality of a world still thirsty for power, that he agreed to leave the village for training once again. This time, not to control his tailed beast powers, not to learn how to use nature energy, but to master something far more dangerous and unpredictable. Kenjutsu, the art of the sword. And there was only one man in the entire world who could teach him what he needed. Killer Bee, the Eight Tails Jinchuriki and Master Swordsman. Naruto arrived at Kumogakure 2 weeks after sending the message. Standing in front of the Raikage's palace gates, he felt an odd sense of déjà vu, but this was different. He was no longer the same naive kid. The village guards still eyed him cautiously. The Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails was no ordinary guest. Suddenly, from behind the two massive guards, a familiar voice sprang up, loud, rhythmic, and unmistakably offbeat. Yo yo yo, Naruto's flow. Enter the village, time to grow. Naruto couldn't help but smile. There he was, Killer Bee, the inhumanely talented swordsman who fought with 7 blades at once, whose rap-like speech and weird antics masked the deadly precision of someone who could cut a mountain if he read hard enough. You ready, kid? Bee said, tapping the hilt of one of his swords. To go from zero to sword hero. Ya feel the flow. Naruto nodded, inhaling deeply. I'm ready, Beanie. Teach me everything. Quote. Bee's smile widened. You ain't just learning how to swing a blade, you know. You're learning to dance with death. The training began immediately. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Naruto's body became unfamiliar to him, stronger, faster, more flexible. But more than that, his entire mindset was changing. Every morning began with meditation, not the usual kind, though. This was focused training, not on chakra, but on intent. The blade ain't just steel, Bee would say, flipping 3 swords into the air and catching them with his elbows and knee. It's your will, your obsession, your reason to fight stitched in metal. Bee's method was unorthodox. Naruto went from fighting with wooden practice swords against clones of Bee, clones made entirely out of yoked chakra, to having to dodge real blades while still unarmed. It was terrifying. It was painful. It was exhilarating. But each time Naruto fell, each time a blade touched his neck, he got up again, stronger, replaying Bee's words over and over in his mind. Greater than, don't fear the blade. Fear the hesitation before you swing it. Quote. By the end of the first month, Naruto could wield a single sword with decent fluidity. By the end of the third, he was dual-wielding like a seasoned chunin. But Bee was relentless. You're stuck in your head, Naruto. Your style's too stiff. You fight swords like a ninja, predictable. Gotta think like a beast, ya know. 7 swords, 7 flows. Your enemy shouldn't know which angle you're coming from. Naruto was pushed to the brink. In one of his worst days, when his arms were shaking and blood dripped from a dozen cuts across his body, he screamed in frustration. I'm trying, Beanie. But I'm not you. I'm not a natural at this. Bee stopped suddenly. Who asked you to be me? His face hardened for the first time since training began. You're Naruto Uzumaki. You ain't the reflection of another man. You got your own path to cut. Quote. In that silent moment, under the scorching sun, on a mountainside carved into training grounds, Naruto understood something he hadn't before. His dream of becoming Hokage had always been fueled by wanting to be acknowledged. But now he was training not to be admired, not to be a hero, not to scare enemies, but to protect, with any blade necessary. Naruto's sword became his extension. He fought with the whirl of wind chakra wrapped around the blade, lightning forming arcs like wings. He learned to infuse his chakra natures into the sword's edge, making every slash a mix of elemental fury. B grinned one day after Naruto disarmed him in a spar. "That's it, kid. You didn't swing like a ninja. You swung like Naruto." Even the 8 tails inside B stirred, impressed. "That boy's got a gift. You trust him with that?" "Sure do," B replied. "He's gonna shock the shinobi world one day." But everything changed when Naruto received a message, one that traveled all the way from the Leaf, arriving battered and bloodstained. An attack on Konoha. A rogue faction of Root Anbu survivors, angry at the dissolution of their old order, had infiltrated the village. Their main target, any remaining Jinchuriki and those close to them. Sakura and Iruka were gravely injured. Naruto's fists clenched around the sword's hilt. The blade responded, glowing faintly with his chakra. B rested a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "You know what comes next?" Naruto nodded, eyes filled with fire. "Yeah, I'm done running. I'm going back. And the world better be ready," B said with a smile, "'cause the kid's got a sword, and a soul that don't fold." Quote, Naruto stood at the edge of Kumogakure's mountain range, wind whipping his Hokage's cloak. Only this time, there were no sleeves. His cloak was sleeveless, torn off during a final, brutal spar with Killer Bee. A symbol of how different he had become. He wasn't just a shinobi anymore. He was a swordsman, a fighter who understood the fragility of life, the ruthlessness of the world, and the price of power. And now, that power was needed. Konoha was under attack. The message had arrived abruptly, delivered by a wounded hawk. The bloody seal of the Hokage's office was unmistakable, stamped squarely on the corner. Naruto had barely touched the scroll before the memories exploded into his mind, images of destruction, shouts, and faces. Friends. Sakura, injured. Iruka, critical. Shikamaru, missing. Root Anbu, returned in vengeance. His heartbeat shattered into lightning. Naruto, be called from behind as he approached, sword strapped to his back. "Listen up, kid. You ready to cut fate?" Naruto's eyes, once filled with childish fire, now shone with cold resolve. "Fate is a blade," he said, gripping the hilt of his sword. "And I'm going to snap it in half." Quote, Return to the Leaf. Naruto traveled faster than any messenger bird, faster than any summoned animal. Years of training with wind chakra always made him fast, but now the blade helped too. His sword was infused with condensed nature chakra, so sharp and light that it almost pulled him forward. Like a current in the air. Within hours, Konoha was in view, the great forest of fire country giving way to rising smoke. The usual calm streets of the Hidden Leaf were now echoing with cries of battle, buildings crumbling in the distance, fire licking the rooftops. Naruto landed on the stone monument, the faces of the previous Hokage looking down on him. Part of him wondered, what would Minato think of his son right now? Sword in hand, body covered in scars, eyes no longer naive. He'd probably smile, Naruto thought. And tell me, you've become strong, Naruto. Stronger than me. But Naruto didn't have time to reflect. In a single leap, he descended into the battlefield below. The battlefield. The chaos was overwhelming. Leaf shinobi were scattered across the streets, fighting masked, elite warriors from the remnants of Root, who had spent years underground. The jutsu were sharp and deadly. Their mission was clear, greater than, eliminate threats to the true future of the Leaf. Including Jinchuriki, including Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto didn't need a headband to identify himself anymore. The moment his sandals hit the ground, a group of rogue Anbu turned toward him, their masks cracked but their killer intent alive. Shadow Spike Jutsu launched straight at him. But Naruto didn't dodge. He moved through it, a blur. The sword came to life. One moment they were there, alive, mid-attack. The next, they were on the ground, disarmed and unconscious, chakra blocked, limbs disabled with pressure. Point strikes too fast to see. Naruto stood in the center, blade humming faintly with wind chakra. The air around him felt sharp, commanding, deadly. Then came the whispers. Is that Naruto? He's changed. Quote, what is that, sword? The reunion. Naruto found Sakura and Iruka in what was left of the hospital. Sakura was leaning against a wall with blood-soaked bandages, her breath raspy but her spirit alive. Iruka was unconscious nearby, face pale, patched up by a healing team. Naruto. Sakura gasped, eyes wide. You're back. I'm sorry I took so long, he said gently, kneeling beside her. But I'm here now. Quote, Sakura tried to sit up straighter, even though pain shot through her body. They came for Shikamaru, for the advisors. They said Danzo's vision, the root's return, had to begin with a purge. They want to restore the village in the image of fear. Quote, Naruto's grip tightened on his sword. Then they've already lost. Sakura exhaled, tears finally falling. You're not the same, Naruto, you've grown. Naruto smiled, though the smile had a somber edge to it. Growing isn't a choice when the world is trying to kill you. Confrontation. Before he could speak another word, a surge of chakra rippled outside, a monstrous blast. A figure flew through the building, cracking walls. Naruto sensed it instantly. A masked shinobi stood in the debris, aura dark and vast. The kunai they wielded was infused with shadow chakra, the special root forbidden style. You're the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, the figure said, voice cold. Our leader wants you alive, just long enough for your power to be extracted. You'll die with honor. Naruto stood without hesitation. I'm not going to die, he said simply. But you're going to wish you'd turned back. Quote, the figure lunged. A blur, shadows like tendrils whipping toward Naruto's back. Naruto moved. Not like a ninja, like a swordsman, like a windstorm given form. The blade cut through darkness, not with force, but with precision. Each strike was fluid, unstoppable. The ground cracked under his feet. Tornado-like energy swirled with every motion as he harnessed both wind and lightning chakra through the blade. In less than 5 seconds, the root assassin was on his knees, mask shattered, body unable to move. You, the man choked, staring up at Naruto. You don't fight like a normal shinobi. Naruto pointed the blade at him calmly. That's because I'm not trying to be a shinobi anymore. He lifted the blade. I'm trying to be the man who protects everyone. The sky above Konoha flickered like a battlefield lantern, fires raged across the rooftops, smoke curled into the air, and the sun was swallowed by rising ash. Yet in the middle of it all, one figure cut through the chaos like the eye of a storm. Naruto Uzumaki, no longer a boy, not yet a sage, stood with his sword drawn. The wind whirled around him as if answering his spirit. His eyes didn't waver. He had seen that look before. In Jiraiya, in Minato, in B, the look of a man who would kill, not to destroy, but to defend. And now, the enemy was gathering. Dozens of root-masked soldiers encircled Naruto. Some of them had trained under Danzo. Others were new recruits, fanatics raised on fear, believing that shinobi strength was worth every sacrifice. They all moved in unison, silent, deadly shadows. To them, Naruto was not a hero, not the future Hokage. He was the Nine-Tails. A monster, a weapon, a target. The first root ninja dashed forward, releasing a blood-curdling wave of chakra-infused senbon. They cut through the air like a storm of scythes, but Naruto didn't even flinch. His hand tightened once around the hilt. And then he moved. The sword of Windsong. It wasn't a technique taught to him. It was something he forged on his own. The blade glowed with compressed air chakra, so sharp that even the space around it seemed to warp. Naruto slashed once, just once, and the air pressure alone shattered the senbon volley, ripping through the attack and sending a blast of wind forward like a dragon's scream. Half the root forces were thrown backward, their armor and bones cracking under the shockwave. Another masked figure jumped over the fallen bodies and charged, kunai ready to stab Naruto's neck. But Naruto ducked, spun, and flipped his blade backward, striking the attacker behind him with the blunt edge, knocking him cold in a blur of motion. He wasn't killing. He could have. But Naruto was still Naruto. Meanwhile, deep below Konoha, in the abandoned root headquarters, hidden in the labyrinth under the Hokage monument, a dark presence was stirring. The new leader of Root. The one who orchestrated the coup. Danzo's successor, known only as Raven. Raven was not an Uchiha. Not a Senju. Not a known clan member. He was a ghost of the past. A shinobi who had trained in silence and shadows, believing that the way forward for the elemental nations was not peace, but dominion through fear. And Naruto Uzumaki was the biggest obstacle. He is too powerful, Raven muttered, studying a flickering map of the village lit by candlelight. Too beloved, too unpredictable. His voice was deep, calm, controlled, behind a masked face carved like a phoenix. Behind him was a coffin-like container. Inside it was something, or someone, sealed in chakra strings. A trembling heartbeat emanated from within. Raven placed a hand over the lid. You will help me finish what Danzo could not. Back on the streets of Konoha. A scream cut through the air, Sakura's voice, from behind Naruto. He turned, just in time to see another Root ninja throw a chained kunai at her. Naruto's world slowed. His eyes didn't blink. His sword didn't falter. He crossed the distance in one impossible breath. The flash, wind chakra step. Naruto materialized between Sakura and the blade. His sword intercepted the kunai, splitting it in half with a crackling burst of lightning chakra. You're okay, he said to Sakura, breathing lightly, voice calm. You're not supposed to be able to do that, she whispered, stunned. Even Sasuke couldn't move that fast. Naruto grinned. Turns out swords make for great shortcuts. Tears streamed down her face, not of fear, but of awe. This was her Naruto, but he was no longer the boy who tripped through life. He was the man who had carved out his own power. Sakura nodded, determination reborn in her eyes. Then let's show them what the wall of fire really means. The final stand of Part 1. The last wave of Root forces unleashed themselves. Their chakra signatures peaked, creating black flames of hatred around them, jutsu stolen from the forbidden archives of the village. Naruto didn't step back. He stepped forward. His sword hummed, and the world seemed to stand still. Naruto raised the blade, chakra condensed into a brilliant blue arc that spiraled along the steel, fusing with the lightning coursing through his wrist and the wind thrumming in his soul. Greater than, this world doesn't need fear anymore. Quote, he swung. The sword art, Tempest Divider. The slash wasn't just a slash, it was a force of nature. The air pressure split the earth below. The lightning crackled outward, turning shadows to ash. The wind screamed through the battlefield, lifting the remaining Root shinobi off the ground and hurling them across the street in defeat and silence. Konoha stood still. Naruto breathed once, sheathing his sword. In that moment, everyone watching, from Anbu perched on rooftops to civilians hiding behind walls, knew one thing. Naruto Uzumaki had become more than a ninja. He had become a legend. But deep beneath the surface, Raven stirred. You've grown stronger, Uzumaki, the masked man said, rising from his throne in the dark. But strength only invites more enemies. You will bleed, and when you do, the world will belong to the Root. Behind him, he released the coffin seal. And something monstrous opened its eyes. Naruto's training under Killer Bee had entered a phase where the mastery of Kenjutsu was no longer just a physical exercise, it was a spiritual transformation. With every swing of his blade, every sparring session against the unpredictable and rhythmic movements of Killer Bee, Naruto was not just learning swordsmanship. He was learning how to channel his emotions, instincts, and chakra into something refined, focused, and deadly. The sun was just breaking over the cliffs of Turtle Island on the morning of Naruto's 17th day of training. The air was still thick with morning mist, and the calm waves of the ocean crashed softly against the rocky shore. Killer Bee stood shirtless and unmoving, eyes closed, facing the water's edge. His 7 swords were stabbed into the sand beside him, a silent declaration of dominance over the art Naruto was about to master. Naruto stood behind him, sweat dripping down his forehead, his hands gripping the hilt of a new, lightweight chakra-reactive blade gifted to him by the Raikage. It wasn't just any sword, it was crafted from special metal that could channel Naruto's chakra as if it were part of his own body. But still, The gap between him and B felt like a canyon. "Listen, Naruto," Killer B finally said, opening one eye, "you ain't just swinging a stick. You're expressing your flow, your heart, your mind, your soul. Sword ain't your weapon, it's your voice. Let it rhyme, let it rise, or your Kenjutsu gonna die." Naruto blinked. The metaphors always threw him off, but he'd learned to grasp the underlying truth: a sword was an extension of one's will. B's Kenjutsu wasn't mere technique, it was rhythm, intent, unpredictability. He was poetry in motion, and Naruto had to find his own rhythm. Naruto took a deep breath and stepped forward, drawing his blade. The cold metal shimmered in the morning sun. He closed his eyes, and for a moment, he imagined all the people he wanted to protect: Hinata, Sakura, Kakashi-sensei, Iruka-sensei, Konohamaru, everyone back home waiting for him. The image of Sasuke also flickered in his mind, not as an enemy, but a lost brother. The blade in his hand pulsed, as if reacting to the chakra flowing through his emotional resolve. "All right, B-sensei," Naruto said with a grin as he opened his eyes, "I'm ready. Let's go again." The battle began instantly. B blitzed forward with a burst of speed so fast that Naruto's eyes could barely track him. Naruto swung his sword in an arc to parry, but B, with a grin, let his body twist midair and redirected his trajectory, landing behind Naruto. Naruto spun around just in time to block a second strike, sparks flying as steel met steel. "Your guard's too tight, your flow's too light. Let it loose, let it right." Naruto inhaled sharply, pushing back with chakra-enhanced strength. But even with the Nine Tails power surging through him, B danced circles around him. His blades weaved in and out, one after another, landing near misses and pressuring Naruto's defenses. But today was different. Naruto didn't panic. He didn't lash out randomly. He didn't overthink. He closed his eyes for a split second and felt the earth beneath his feet, the sword in his hand, the flow of chakra within him. Then, he moved, not with frantic motions like before, but with purpose. He used one hand to deflect a blow, then spun in a low circle and slashed forward with chakra flaring from the blade. The energy surged and gave the attack greater reach. A wave of cutting wind shot through the clearing, forcing B.T.O. leap back. "Woohoo! Now that's what I'm talking about." B cheered. "That's the vibe, the push, the stride. Don't fight the blade, let it be your guide." Naruto grinned, this time with confidence, not just determination. His sword flowed in tune with his movement as he charged at B. The clash of metal rang out again and again, echoing across the island. Naruto's inner evolution. By the 25th day, Naruto wasn't just swinging a sword, he was wielding it like an extension of his will. He'd added his own twist to Killer B's style, where B's movements were unpredictable and rhythm-based. Naruto added pressure and force. His slashes, charged with chakra, created shockwaves of force. But more importantly, Naruto began developing a style that mirrored his life philosophy: protect, inspire, and break through limits. But it wasn't just technique Naruto was learning, he was growing spiritually. One night, during meditation deep within the island caves, Naruto found himself facing the Nine Tails again. Kurama floated behind the bars of the seal, observing him with narrowed eyes. "You've changed," the fox said with a hint of curiosity. "Your chakra feels sharpened." Naruto nodded. "It's weird, using a sword makes me focus in ways I wasn't used to. I'm using your chakra too, but not like raging or blasting, it's more controlled." Kurama huffed. HMPH. "About time. As if you don't like raging," Naruto teased. "Only when it's useful," Kurama growled, but this time, there was no malice, only a begrudging respect. Naruto sat down cross-legged in the seal space. "You know, when I attacked B today, I wasn't trying to win or prove anything. I was trying to connect. I felt like the sword was part of me. And I know, I still have a long way to go, but I want you to be part of this too." Quote. Kurama's eyes widened slightly. It wasn't the first time Naruto had reached out, but somehow, this was different. It was calm, intentional, genuine. Kurama closed his eyes. "Then listen carefully, brat. The sword is not just a weapon, it's a medium. You control it with intent. You can use my chakra in the same way, not as a source of destruction, but as focus. As an edge. Naruto's eyes lit up, like, shaping it. Quote, yes, Kurama said. Channel my chakra into the blade, and it will obey your will. Let your emotions guide the swing, but never let them cloud your path. Naruto nodded and smiled. Guess we're both learning together, huh? Quote, for once, Kurama muttered, I don't mind. A new power, Tailed Beast Kenjutsu. On the 30th day, B announced a new phase in the training, sparring using Biju chakra. Naruto's eyes widened with excitement. Combining swordsmanship with Tailed Beast chakra wasn't common, even B used it only rarely. Control's the key. Chakra's a wave, swords the ripple. You let M mix wrong, your blade gonna burst like a cripple. B warned with a laugh. Naruto held his breath, gripping his blade as the red chakra cloak began to wrap around him, surging with power. The sword responded, it glowed with a fiery aura, vibrating with the intensity of Naruto's chakra. But it didn't explode. Instead, it settled, balanced, harmonized. Naruto tightened his grip and swung the sword in a powerful arc. The chakra shot forward like a crescent wave of fire and force, carving into the ground and slicing through trees as if they were mere grass. B watched, mouth open. Sheesh, that's some insane blitz, kid. That move just got your own twist. Naruto's grin widened. Hey, I'll call it the Crimson Crescent Slash. B laughed in rhythm. Oh yeah, that's tight. Flowin' fierce, blazin' bright. Soon, Naruto was combining taijutsu, ninjutsu, and kenjutsu in fluid motion. The sword became a medium for chakra-laced attacks, cutting through rock and air alike. He was no longer just a jinchuriki, he was a warrior with a blade sharper than destiny itself. Trouble on the horizon. While Naruto trained, trouble brewed beyond Turtle Island. The Akatsuki had grown restless. Pain was defeated. Sasuke had turned rogue, and Tobi was moving in the shadows, plotting the Eye of the Moon plan. The other villagers knew Naruto was being trained in secret, and the Raikage was doing everything to make sure he would emerge stronger than ever. But someone else was coming. Kisame had found his way back into action, wielding Samehada with malicious purpose. He'd caught wind of B's location. And the idea of capturing two Jinchuriki at once. Irresistible. B felt the intrusion first. Killer B, we've got company. A hidden Kumo shinobi shouted, rushing forward toward the training grounds. B's eyes narrowed. Naruto, this is no drill. Grab your blade. We're about to throw down for real. Naruto stood, his chakra flaring with determination as he sheathed his sword and looked ahead. Killer B stood beside him, 7 swords at the ready. And emerging from the shadows, Samehada humming with hunger, was Kisame Hoshigaki, his eyes locked on the two Jinchuriki like a predator. Aren't I lucky? Kisame smirked. 2 perfect hosts, in one place. I'll enjoy this. Naruto stepped forward, chakra swirling like a storm beneath his skin, hand gripping the sword hilt. I'm not the same Naruto you faced during the war, he said firmly. Come at me, and I'll show you what a real shinobi can do, with a blade. Quote, the wind stilled, the clash of destiny began. Kisame Hoshigaki's presence was like a dark ocean swallowing the air around Turtle Island. His chakra felt immense and cold, swirling around him like a living current. Samehada scraped against the rocky ground as the rogue swordsman approached, the blade scales twitching in anticipation, tasting the chakra of its potential prey. Naruto stood beside Killer B, his hand resting firmly on the hilt of his new chakra-reactive sword. It pulsed softly with life, reacting to Naruto's heightened emotional state. His breath was sharp, steady. His eyes focused. He wasn't the boy from Team 7 anymore. He was a warrior, sharpened by discipline, tempered by hardship, and solidified by purpose. Yo, Octopus Man, Kisame grinned, I told you last time, you're too carefree. And now you've brought along a little surprise. Uzumaki Naruto, the famed 9 Tails Jinchuriki. Naruto didn't flinch. Enough talking. You came here for a fight, right? Then fight. Killer B tapped Naruto's shoulder with his elbow. Stay sharp, stay real, don't lose your feel, he whispered, still maintaining his rhythm even in tension. Kisame chuckled menacingly. Oh, I'm going to enjoy this. Two hosts, Samehada's gonna feast like a king today. Killer Bee planted his foot forward and shifted his guard position. 5 swords in each hand, 2 more loosely gripped between joints and shoulder blade. Naruto, we'll do what we practiced. I'll take the lead. Just flow with the beat. Naruto nodded sharply, drawing his sword, red chakra beginning to coat his body. He focused deeply on his training, on the Kenjutsu philosophy Bee taught him. Fight with intent. Flow with purpose. Keep your soul in the blade. And then, the battle exploded. The first exchange. Kisame surged forward with astonishing speed for someone of his size. His massive sword slashed downwards, its weight supported by both muscular arms. But Killer Bee was ready. He danced in with his 8-sword style, effortlessly parrying the blow with a whirlwind of steel and motion. Sparks erupted as Bee's sword scraped violently against Samehada. Naruto watched intently, chakra flaring beneath his feet. Waves from Kisame's swing caused a pulse of energy that Naruto could feel from feet away. Samehada wasn't an ordinary sword, and Kisame wasn't an ordinary enemy. Bee called out in a rhythm as he clashed. Sword on sword, clash and heat. Naruto, now's your time to beat. Naruto dashed forward, blade drawn, chakra streaming behind him like a crimson tail. The sword glowed with fiery red chakra as he leapt into the fray beside Bee. He swung with all the momentum his body could muster, aiming not at Kisame, but at Samehada itself. The blade collided with the massive sword, and a shockwave burst through the clearing. Samehada reacted instantly. It repelled Naruto's sword, trying to drain the Nine Tails chakra. But what Samehada didn't expect was the unique nature of Naruto's Kenjutsu. Naruto grinned. You want my chakra? Then here, take all you've got room for. He focused more chakra into the blade, challenging Samehada's appetite, forcing the sword to react violently. Samehada growled, its scales twitching erratically as it struggled to absorb chakra it couldn't fully process. Kisame's grin faded slightly. Oh, not bad. Most people lose the sword the moment Samehada gets a taste. But you're pushing back, interesting. Naruto exhaled slowly, stepping back to regroup beside Bee. Hey, now I get why you wanted me to control chakra through the blade like that. I didn't let it drain, just forced it out through my own flow. Quote. Bee nodded, smiling. That's the vibe, you're learning to jive. Building momentum. The clearing became a battlefield of steel, water, and chakra. Killer Bee took the front, weaving his swords around him in a protective yet fluid motion, as though performing a ritual dance of death. Naruto supported him, learning to complement Bee's rhythm with precision strikes of his own. The red chakra cloak formed around Naruto now, giving him speed and fluidity. With each attack, Naruto began to feel the energy surge through him, not as chaos, but as flow. He could now withstand Samehada's chakra absorption attempts, counterbalancing it with controlled bursts. Kisame grinned again, slowly backing away. You're stronger than last time, Bee. And the kid isn't bad either. But let me remind you. He slammed his hand to the ground, and a surge of water erupted around them, flooding the clearing with towering walls of chakra-infused sea. Within moments, the entire landscape was transformed into Kisame's infamous water prison dome. A massive aquatic sphere surrounded them, cutting off escape. Underwater, Kisame was unstoppable. Naruto hovered above the surface thanks to chakra, but the pressure of the water dome weighed heavily on the air inside. You're in my territory now, Kisame said, licking his lips. Let's see how well you can keep that sword flowing underwater. Bee looked over. Naruto, stick close. Don't lose your beat, and keep your feet. He flashed into full 8 Tails power, his skin morphing into a partial transformation, his chakra spiking. Naruto nodded, and he too released more chakra, drawing further on Kurama's strength while maintaining enough control to channel it through the sword. It glowed red-hot beneath the water's reflective surface. Then both Jinchuriki charged. Tailed Beast Kenjutsu, clash in the water prison. Kisame charged in return, Samehada growing massively as it absorbed the flooding chakra around it. He swung with unmatched force, but Killer Bee caught the attack with 2 blades while Naruto leaped overhead and slashed downward diagonally. Kisame slipped aside, and Naruto's chakra wave ripped into the water, causing a pulse of energy that shattered nearby coral like rock. But Kisame was already behind him. "Don't let up," Naruto yelled, flipping his blade around and blocking Kisame's strike from behind. The blades clashed, and Naruto felt his chakra draining rapidly. He gritted his teeth. "Damn, it's strong, too strong. Don't fight its pull," Kurama's voice echoed in Naruto's mind. "Override it with focus, use your will to push back, not your power." Naruto's heart raced. He exhaled sharply. "You got it." And then his chakra turned inward. He flowed chakra into the blade, not in a burst, but like a steady stream of his own spirit. Samehada jerked violently again, unable to restrain or drain the balanced mix of tailed beast power and Naruto's own Kenjutsu focus. The sword vibrated, and Kisame stumbled back, retreating a step from the shock. Killer Bee jumped at the opening and struck with all 7 of his blades, a metal storm that Kisame barely managed to withstand. His chest was nicked, blood flowing into the water. He frowned now. No smiles. His eyes turned cold. "That hurt." Naruto looked to Bee. "Time for the finisher." Bee nodded. "Oh, you know it. Let's show how we blow it." Quote, The finishing duel. Naruto inhaled deeply as he raised the sword overhead, chakra condensing and wrapping around him like a smoldering fire. His eyes glowed yellow, marking the threshold between man and beast. He swung the sword down, and a massive wave of red chakra fused with wind pressure surged forward, slicing through the water. Crimson Crescent Slash, Form 2, Tidal Cut. The attack not only cut the water, it cut through Kisame's water dome itself, splitting the chakra sphere apart and sending a towering wall of energy crashing toward the rogue shinobi. At the same time, Killer Bee leaped into the air, forming a dense compressed ball of Biju chakra and rapping loudly, "Eight Tails Bomb, this one's gonna stomp." Quote, he threw it. The 2 chakra attacks collided toward Kisame, a pincer of unstoppable energy. Kisame couldn't dodge. The explosion shook the entire shoreline, sending a blast of wind and water vapor toward the skies. Smoke choked the battlefield. Sand and stone fell like rain. And in the center lay Kisame, his body bruised, bleeding, and defeated. Samehada twitched beside him. Bee walked over, slowly breathing out his chakra, returning to his normal form. Naruto followed, muscles trembling from the intensity of the fight. "Looks like you've both grown," Kisame muttered, coughing blood. "Samehada, will remember you." He reached a hand out to the sword, and it responded. Slowly, painfully, Samehada crawled toward its master. But before it could reach him, a figure appeared. A swirling mask, stepping through space itself. Toby. Killer Bee and Naruto tensed. "I apologize for my subordinate," Toby said calmly, his mask tilting slightly. Seems even he underestimated the strength of a groomed and sharpened Jinchuriki. Naruto gritted his teeth. "You, relax, Naruto," Toby said, his voice containing a haunting gentleness. "I'm not here to fight, today. I merely came to retrieve what's mine." He placed a hand on Kisame, and both of them vanished in a vortex of spiraling space distortion. Naruto stepped forward. "Wait, come back and face me." But Toby was gone. Bee patted Naruto's shoulder. "Not yet, young one. Save your blade for the real battle. But you're close, so close." Naruto looked down at his sword, fists tightened. He took a deep breath. He wasn't done. This was only the beginning. The world was shifting, and now, he had more than shadow clones and Rasengan. He had a blade and a purpose sharper than ever. The battlefield was quiet now, too quiet. The violent waves had returned to the sea, the wind eased to a distant whistle, and yet the silence fell. Lieutenant deafening in the wake of Toby's departure. Naruto stood alone near the shoreline, eyes narrowed and fists clenched, his sword resting at his side, glowing faintly with embers of red chakra. He wasn't satisfied. Not with this ending. Not with the mystery. Not with an enemy slipping away. It was the same feeling he had every time a shadow loomed just out of reach, like an itch under his skin. Bee walked up, shaking loose bits of coral and wet sand from his shoulder. "Yo, Blade Bro, don't let your light fall low," he hummed with his usual swagger, though even he seemed slightly shaken by the sudden appearance from Toby. Naruto exhaled slowly. That guy, he knew exactly when to show up. Just like before, always one step ahead. Killer Bee nodded, both swords still sheathed. He's the type to watch, not fight, till he knows the weak spot in your bite. Naruto turned toward Bee. We aren't going to let that happen, right? He gripped his sword tightly. I'm going to get stronger. Until they can't slip through the cracks anymore. I don't want to just defend myself, I want to protect everyone and push back. Bee grinned, showing his teeth. That's the vortex of a true shinobi's soul. The edge of the blade is where you've gotta go. Naruto grinned back, but the smile faded quickly as his mind wandered. Tobi's voice echoed in his head, mocking, calm, always just out of reach. And worse, there was something more. Something unsettling. Kisame didn't just know who Naruto was. He knew Bee. He knew the swords. He knew the Jinchuriki inside and out. Something wasn't adding up. Naruto turned to Bee again. I need to train harder. We've been sharpening my Kenjutsu skills. But there's more I need. More control. More speed. More balance. Bee nodded, humming again before launching into a smooth beat. That's the rhythm. Spin your vision, earn your cut, let your spirit do the strut. Naruto nodded. His training with Bee wasn't just about strength, it was about flow. About learning to withstand pressure with grace rather than force. To condense his energy in a deliberate and precise strike rather than lashing out blindly. Naruto was starting to understand what true mastery meant. He wasn't learning just how to kill someone with a sword. He was learning how to protect everything with it. The blade's path. It had been a week since Kisame's defeat. Naruto and Bee were back atop Turtle Island, continuing their Kenjutsu and Jinchuriki training. Bee watched, observing Naruto's movement. The former knucklehead ninja now moved fluidly across the rocky surface, his feet shifting with rhythm, his swings slicing powerfully but not recklessly. Naruto swung the chakra sword through the air, and red energy vibrated through his arm in steady waves. The fire-like chakra, gifted and refined through his bond with Kurama, now embraced the blade like a dancing flame. Naruto stopped abruptly, breathing deeply. I can feel it now, he murmured. The sword isn't separate from me. It's like, a part of who I am. Bee nodded, crossing his arms. That's it. Soul of the sword, soul of the beast, you walk that line, feast to feast. Naruto turned, eyes full of clarity. Bee, I've been thinking. I've been relying on my clones too much. And on brute force. He paused. But I want to learn more forms. More techniques. With the sword. Maybe even integrate chakra elements into Kenjutsu forms. Bee scratched his chin thoughtfully. Elemental swing, that's a wicked thing, you sure you can keep that bling? Naruto smirked. Try me. Bee gave him a sudden thumbs up. Alright, Blade Brat, let's cut the fat. Today, we try something mad. Chakra natures in sword attacks, and in motion. Hybrid style, forging the elemental blade. Since Naruto already had the innate potential to control wind release, and thanks to the Toad Sage wisdom, could apply it dynamically, Bee decided they would start with that base element. But instead of a normal wind-style Rasengan or Shuriken, they would channel wind into the blade itself. Wind was sharp, precise, lethal. It could fuse perfectly with a sword when controlled properly. Naruto stood still, sword drawn, eyes closed. He took a deep breath and focused. Wind chakra began spiraling around the blade, combining with the warm red chakra of the nine tails. At first, it was chaotic, currents of wind would break out wildly, slicing small grooves into the ground unintentional. Why? But Naruto breathed, slowed down, allowed the energies to intertwine instead of dominate each other. The chakra sword began to hum. Bee stepped back in awe. Oh ho ho, that blade's got a storm in its bones. Quote, Naruto opened his eyes and swung the sword, a wave of wind-infused chakra erupted, slicing through a boulder as though it were a wet loaf of bread. He grinned. I did it. Kurama's voice growled softly inside him. HMPH. Not bad, brat. Maybe you're finally learning to think like a warrior instead of a street brawler. Naruto laughed. A genuine, heartfelt sound. But then, something strange happened. A spike of unnatural chakra filled the air. One that sent a shiver down Naruto's spine. Dark, deep, Violent. Naruto looked to B, who was already staring at the horizon, jaw tensed. B, do you feel that? B didn't move. Then he said in a low, steady voice. Yeah, and we ain't alone. From the shadows of the trees, several figures began to emerge, their eyes glowing red with the Sharingan. Naruto took a step forward. Akatsuki. B drew his swords, all 8 at the ready. Seems like the stage ain't empty now, he rapped softly, though there was no playful rhythm behind his tone this time. Naruto's grip tightened around his blade. The training was no longer practice. The sword was no longer a symbol. It was time to test everything he'd learned against the true darkness once again. Darkness fell like a curtain across Turtle Island as the figures emerged, silent as phantoms, deadly as lingering death. Their cold killing intent was suffocating, even before their chakra signatures filled the space like a storm on the horizon. Naruto and B knew the red glow of those eyes instantly. The Sharingan. Not 1, not 2, 7 pairs. Naruto's breath hitched. This isn't just 1 or 2 Akatsuki. It's an entire squad. B exhaled calmly, spinning his blades into their familiar rapid rhythm. Naruto, stay cool. Read the scene. Let the sword do what it's keen. Naruto nodded, raising his sword and letting the swirling wind chakra surround the blade. I'm ready. We fight together. From the shadows stepped a cloaked shinobi, scarred across the face, with a long black trench coat. He smirked through the haze of power as the others descended behind him, each one wearing an Akatsuki cloak, but with a strange insignia, an eye marked with a question rune. A new faction, under the same banner. Uzumaki Naruto, Killer B, Jinchuriki of the 9 tails and the 8 tails, the lead shinobi said with a venomous whisper. Your power has grown, but so has ours, and we've come to claim you, for the Eye of Control. Quote, Naruto narrowed his eyes. Eye of Control, who the hell are you people? The shinobi didn't respond immediately. Instead, he raised his hand. The Sharingan of every figure behind him pulsed at once, and Naruto felt a wave of Genjutsu aura surge forward. Naruto stepped back instinctively. Damn it, Genjutsu formation. B grit his teeth. Eyes down, soul up. Turn it around before we get locked up. Naruto closed his eyes completely, relying on his senses, on Kurama's chakra, on instinct. The air around him distorted with illusions. The technique was powerful, cast by multiple eyes at once. If they hadn't trained in this heightened state, both B and Naruto would have been trapped instantly. But Naruto pushed back with his enhanced chakra control. Kurama's growl echoed. They're trying to drag your mind into a pit. Don't give in. Naruto forced chakra outward in a ripple, breaking the illusion just as the enemy squad engaged physically. Clash at Turtle Island, rise of the swordsmith Jinchuriki. As the attack began, Naruto didn't hesitate. He moved. The first enemy charged with a gleaming kunai aimed at Naruto's ribs, but the young swordsman parried the blow with a sharpened chakra edge and spun, slicing precisely through the opponent's cloak and thigh. The Sharingan user staggered back, clutching their wound. Too slow, Naruto muttered, breathing steadily. I'm not the same kid you thought I was. Another shinobi darted forward, wielding a sword with strange purple runes across it. As they clashed swords, Naruto's chakra blade flickered, but held ground, wind release tightening the edges to exacting precision. Naruto ducked low and slammed a fist into the shinobi's gut, sending him flying into a boulder. Kaiten, great fireball, another ninja shouted, sending a massive flaming sphere toward them. Naruto spun his sword through the air, creating a sweeping arc of compressed wind chakra. Wind release, crescent cut. The crescent tore through the fireball, bisecting it and sending embers raining into the sky like dying stars. B charged headlong into another enemy, rapping under his breath, don't keep your vision in a prison, break the rhythm, score incision. Quote, with 7 blades already slicing the air, and an 8th emerging from his bent knee joint, B dismantled his attacker in mere seconds, spinning flawlessly into an overhead slam that sent a dual-fanged cut straight across the last shinobi's chest. B looked back. Naruto, don't stop the flow. Let the inner beast show. Naruto's blade glowed brighter still, flickers of orange aura beginning to shroud him as Kurama synced chakra rhythmically, smoothly, not wild like before, but controlled. Naruto leapt forward again. His form was effortless, fierce, but not reckless. The blade was still an extension of himself, but now combined with his aura, it made him almost untouchable. He cut through Genjutsu like it was mist. He blocked strikes before they even fully formed. He moved as if he already saw the attack coming. Not because he had the Sharingan, but because he had trained his instincts to become that sharp. The hidden threat emerges. Only 3 enemies remained now, 2 slightly wounded, 1 untouched. The untouched shinobi stepped forward, and his Sharingan eyes twisted, morphing into a 3-eyed Rinja pattern. A prototype stage of evolution. Something unstable. Naruto stared. That's not normal. Not just Sharingan. That's something else. B got serious. That's not cool. Tained no school of chakra wielding I've seen. Quote, the masked shinobi finally spoke. This is power beyond the Uchiha. Born from the remnants of Madara's failed design. Naruto flinched. Madara. Again. The shinobi raised his arms, and a red-black chakra erupted around him. It poured like poison into the surrounding ground, rotting grass and twisting stone around him. We are the accolades of the Void Eye. We serve not pain, not Obito, but the legacy of the one true God, who forsook all chakra. Quote, Naruto shook his head. I don't understand. You will. He formed a seal, and the chakra surged into a massive dark spear. Void release, impaling ruin. B and Naruto moved simultaneously, but the spear was massive, ripping through the ground where they stood and collapsing part of Turtle ISL. And terrain beneath them. Naruto gritted his teeth and poured chakra into his sword. Time seemed to slow. Kurama roared. Don't hesitate. Cut it. Naruto swung. The blade glowed white-hot with 9 tails chakra, and split the void spear in half. The backlash nearly took Naruto's arm off. He skidded backward, breath rasping, sword still held firmly. B grinned, wiping blood from his lip. Look at you, ride the storm. No more kid, now you're born. Quote, Naruto's eyes burned with determination. This isn't over yet. Naruto's resolve, new sword technique. Naruto closed his eyes, felt Kurama's heartbeat sink, felt B's confidence flow, felt the sword in his hand not as a weapon, but a promise to never run again. Naruto opened his eyes, the aura flared, red wind, golden chakra, blade-tipped resolve, and he roared, Kenjutsu style, Vulcan Fang flash. Naruto disappeared, reappearing in a blink above the void shinobi, blade angled downward. One slash, pure focus, everything Naruto had in one moment. The ground beneath cracked into a crater. The void shinobi crumpled, chakra sputtering like dying embers. B supplemented with his final strike, spinning into a brutal 8-blade dance that finished off the remaining enemy. Silence swept across Turtle Island once more. Only the wind remained. Naruto sheathed his sword slowly, exhaling, and his knees slowly buckled, still shaking from the immense energy drain. B caught him, patting his back. You ain't done yet, kid, but you just marked the hit. Naruto smiled weakly. We did it, but this wasn't the end. Something tells me this was just another beginning. B nodded soberly. And the blade, like your heart, gotta stay sharp in the dark. Quote, Naruto looked out toward the sea. Toward a future that felt uncertain but bold. He had surpassed his old limits. Learned to harness a weapon. Refined his chakra into purpose. But above all, he was becoming something this world had never seen before. A swordsman Jinchuriki. And this was only the beginning. The heat of the summer afternoon beat down on the rocky cliffs of the Land of Lightning, where the sound of steel striking steel echoed like thunder across the mountain range. Naruto Uzumaki, drenched in sweat and panting with uneven breaths, struggled to maintain his stance as Killer Bee, the legendary Jinchuriki of the 8 tails, danced around him with frightening speed and precision. The sun glinted off of B's 7 swords as they rotated and flipped in his hands, held by elbows, knees, his mouth, all striking in unpredictable rhythms. Yo, Naruto bro, gotta keep your flow. Can't swing just for show. B rapped mid-combat, all while applying pressure with every movement. Naruto gritted his teeth, clutching a single sword with both hands, his grip still unfamiliar, the weight still heavy. He'd practiced for months now under B's guidance, learning the foundations of Kenjutsu, but standing B. For this master of swordplay, he still felt like a beginner. He didn't have to be taught the power of chakra, he already knew how it fueled life, how it could destroy mountains or protect loved ones, but this was different. Killer Bee had shown him a form of combat that blended raw instinct with rhythm, chakra with blade, passion with precision. To reach that level, Naruto would have to break down everything he thought he knew and rebuild himself from the ground up. With a yell, Naruto lunged forward, his sword glowing faintly with infused chakra. But B sidestepped effortlessly, his body twisting like a ribbon as he countered with a rapid spin, planting a blade just inches from Naruto's shoulder. Too slow, too tense, you ain't makin' sense. Let the sword do the talkin', and stop overthinkin'. B laughed. Naruto staggered back, exhausted, not just from the physical toll, but the emotional one. For so long, he had relied on taijutsu, on shadow clones, on raw power when nothing else worked. But this training required precision, control, subtlety, things he'd never mastered. Things he needed now more than ever. Flashback, 1 month earlier. The decision to leave Konoha and train under Killer Bee hadn't been easy, especially because it meant putting his dream of bringing Sasuke back on hold. But after his loss against Sasuke at the Valley of the End, Naruto realized that even with the Nine Tails Po, he wasn't enough. He lacked something Sasuke had mastered long ago. True skill, technique, focus. Kakashi had suggested it. Naruto, if you're serious about getting stronger, about becoming someone who can truly protect the village, there's a shinobi you need to meet. Someone who can teach you something totally different. That led Naruto to the remote outskirts of Kumogakure, where B had agreed to train him, but only if Naruto passed one simple requirement. To be my student, you gotta spit a rhyme. Make your beat flow in time. And Naruto, fumbling, awkward, confused, actually did it. That was the day everything changed. Back to the present. Naruto swung again, this time adding a twist in his step, loosening his grip, letting the sword flow more with his body. B raised an eyebrow, impressed. Naruto's movements were still rough, but they were showing improvement. The boy was learning not to force the weapon, but to move with it. Slowly, ever slowly, Naruto was beginning to understand. Now you're getting it, dude in the blue, swinging a blade ain't just something you do. It's a partner, a pal, another you. Naruto chuckled between breaths. You always gotta rhyme everything. He asked. Man, that's my style, been flowin' for a while. Before Naruto could retort, B suddenly stopped, stiffened, and flicked a kunai at Naruto's feet. The faintest shadow had moved in the nearby brush, someone was watching them. A cloaked figure stepped into the clearing, his presence cold and sharp like steel. You've improved, Naruto, said the familiar voice. But you're still not good enough. Naruto felt his blood run cold. He knew that voice. Sasuke. Sasuke Uchiha stood before them, eyes as cold as ever, his presence darker than Naruto remembered. But this wasn't a violent encounter. Sasuke wasn't here to fight. He was here to test. Show me, Sasuke said. Show me what this new training has done for you. B smirked. Looks like someone's bringin' drama. You two about to go at it like some crazy warriors from a novel trauma. Naruto took a deep breath. This time, he wasn't going to rely on brute force or shadow clones. He picked up his sword and took a stance he'd been practicing for weeks, one that reflected balance, patience, and precision. He was ready. Next part preview. As Naruto and Sasuke clashed under Killer Bee's watchful eye, steel met steel in a way it never had before. Thunder cracked, chakra surged, and the bond between the two rivals grew tighter, forged in the heat of battle and the cut of a blade. Naruto's journey as a Kenjutsu master was just beginning, and the path ahead was filled with challenges, enemies, and revelations more powerful than anything he'd ever known. The clearing was silent, except for the faint crackling of lightning in the distant clouds. Naruto stood across from Sasuke, sword in hand, steady, his breathing controlled, his eyes calm. No longer did he grip his blade with fear or desperation. He held it the way Killer Bee had taught him, like an extension of himself. Sasuke narrowed his gaze, observing every subtle change in Naruto's aura. This was not the same boy who chased him in desperation. This Naruto moved like someone confident, someone trained, someone dangerous. "You've changed," Sasuke muttered, unsheathing his chokuto. Naruto didn't reply. His focus was on the space between them, a silent battlefield waiting to erupt. Then, the wind blew, and the swords clashed. Dash dash dash. Blades and bonds. The steel sparked as Naruto parried Sasuke's first strike, pivoting lightly on his foot and countering with a slashing arc. It wasn't perfect, Sasuke deflected it, but it was smooth, deliberate, sharp. B watched from the sidelines, arms crossed, smirking proudly. "Look at you go, little bro. Flowin' like a pro." Naruto infused chakra into the blade as B had taught him, creating a glowing edge that extended the reach of his strikes. Sasuke unleashed his Chidori blade, lightning crackling violently along its length. Their clash sent a shockwave through the air, rattling loose rocks and scattering leaves. Naruto winced but held his ground. He could feel the sword vibrating with power, not just his, but the weight of B's training, killer intent, and unbreakable will. Dash dash dash. The breakthrough. Sasuke lunged, faster than Naruto could track, and the world blurred. Naruto didn't use a substitution. He didn't use a clone. He used instinct. He twisted, letting Sasuke's blade pass through the space where his ribs had been a moment before, then, with a swift upward slash, he grazed Sasuke's cheek, drawing a trickle of blood. Sasuke froze, eyes wide. That wasn't the old Naruto. That was a swordsman. Dash dash dash. Aftermath and acceptance. The fight didn't continue. There was no need. Sasuke sheathed his sword and turned away, a ghost of a smirk on his lips. "You're finally worth fighting," he said, voice quiet. "Next time, don't hold back." Naruto watched him leave. There was no sadness in his heart this time, only resolve. He knew their paths would cross again. And when they did, he would be ready, not just as a Jinchuriki, or as a loud, stubborn ninja, but as Naruto, the shinobi who carved his own strength into steel. B wrapped an arm around Naruto's shoulders. "Yo, kid, you did it, with style and flow. You turned that blade into something that shines like a lightning bolt glow." Naruto smiled, tired, proud, and filled with a renewed sense of purpose. "Thanks, B. I think I finally get it. The sword wasn't just a weapon. It was a promise, of protection, of honor, of growth. Of being strong enough to walk the path he believed in." Dash dash dash. Epilogue. Years later, long after the Fourth Great Ninja War had ended, stories were whispered throughout the element. Al nations. Tales of a blonde shinobi who wasn't just the strongest Jinchuriki, but a master swordsman whose blade burned with chakra and conviction. A warrior whose Kenjutsu flowed like poetry. A Hokage who had learned that strength wasn't just something you inherited. It was something you forged. With every swing. Thank you guys. Smile.